Live better and longer with the Fitzness Show, hosted by fitness expert, author, and TV personality Fitz Koehler. She'll tell you why diets are dumb, supplements are snake oil, and the truth about how you can earn a lean, hard, pain-free, and athletic body. Now for our favorite bossy blonde, Fitz Koehler.
Well, hi team. I'm Fitz Koehler, your incredibly bossy fitness pro from fitzness.com, and welcome to the Fitzness Show. Today is a humdinger. I'm bringing back one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite humans on earth, my poster boy, Michael Jones, and we are going to talk about what he's been through. He is Mr. Health during hardship. I've been talking a lot about that from my experiences, but Michael just kicked the door in on dealing with BS and getting his life back is so freaking exciting. So before we get there, and to remind you that wherever you listen to the Fitzness Show, click subscribe. That means whenever I come up and I start bossing you around and helping you live better and longer, you get notification, right? The other thing you can do is just click download wherever you listen, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Amazon. If you click download the Fitzness Show, you'll get it right in your phone. So even if you don't have Wi-Fi or whatever, you're on a plane, you're in a dungeon, you can have me with you. And who better to be in a dungeon with than moi? That's right. And if you haven't done so yet, pay attention. My book, Use Supercharge, the exact formula for fitness, weight loss, and longevity is out right now. And you need it. It has all the solutions for everything and everyone you want to be. So order it at fitzness.com and I'll sign it and I'll put in the little Fitzy sticker, which is a lot of fun. Send it out with love. And then when you open your mailbox, you're going to be pelted in the face with joy and instructions. That's right. Because it's not all about joy, girl and guy. It's about you doing better and being better. And again, all of it's in there. So get the freaking thing. Okay. Now on to business. We're going to introduce the Michael Jones. And I'm going to give you our backstory before we get him on because he has a whole bunch of more new stuff to share. But I met Michael over 10 years ago at all places at a bakery at Walt Disney World. That makes no sense, right? But it was a gathering of runners that were doing some sort of Run Disney event. I think it was a Disney marathon. But Michael was about 100 pounds heavier-ish. And he was just a different man. He was very meek and he introduced himself in a very meek way. And he was very sweet. Golly, did I like him right away. But he told me he was trying to lose weight. And I told him about the exact formula for weight loss. And he kind of nodded and he said, well, that's pretty easy. And I said, well, you can do this. And then pay attention. He did it. He used the freaking exact formula for weight loss. And then he lost about 100 pounds. And not only did he lose weight, but he gained so much more. And so Michael was a guy who, he's still soft-spoken and the biggest gentleman and sweetheart on earth, but he apologized for every move he made. He was always saying, sorry, even though he did literally nothing wrong ever, because he's one of the perfectest people ever, but he just didn't have a lot of confidence and he didn't value his place in this world. And so as he got fitter, as he adopted strength training, as he lost weight, as I yelled at him and said, do not apologize for your existence, he grew confidence. And gosh, not only could you see him standing up straighter and more proud, but he excelled professionally. He's, again, when I say poster boy, this is what happens when you do what I tell you to do. He became a vice president of several major healthcare companies. He ran marathons holding the American flag. How badass is that? And then he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I tell you what, he punched that disease in the face. And the only reason he was able to do it is because he was so freaking fit. If Michael Jones of 10 years ago had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, he would be a very sick, very weak man right now, and he would not have the same story. So you listen close because you never know when tragedy, when injury or illness will strike, and you better be ready for it. You better do exactly what Michael Jones has done. You turn your life around, you lose the weight, you grow strong, you get flexible, you gain balance, you prepare your body, because if you get hit by a bus or you get diagnosed with something nasty, you're going to be far more prepared to deal with it, get past it, and return to not only normalcy, but vibrancy. I did that with cancer. Michael Jones has done that with Parkinson's, and I'm so freaking pumped to bring him on the show. Welcome to the Fitzness Show, Michael Jones.
Hey, Fitz, how are you?
Good. Could I be more emphatic about you?
Well, I wanna meet this cool guy you're describing, and it's me. That's awesome. Hey, I do have
Prob-
one thing I wanna say before you get in. So you talked about get your book, order it from fitzness.com, get the goodies, get this autograph copy, then go to Amazon and leave Fitz a review. Leave an honest review, and it should be really a highly rated review, but leave a review for Fitz so that she can keep getting sharing the love and sharing that book with others. Even if you buy it from Fitz, you can review it on Amazon.
You're an angel. And you know what I forgot to mention in your intro is that you are now an author, not just of one books. How many do you have out now?
I've got 3 and I'm working on number 4 and 5 right now.
That's wild. And you're a speaker and you're a consultant and you're just killing it in every way. In fact, you ditched your VP job and said, I want to be on my own because I'm the man and I can help people in other ways. And you've
Yeah.
done it. So, yeah. Is that bio complete or what else am I missing? Super dad,
Well,
excellent husband.
yeah, awesome husband. I love my wife, Christine, with all my heart. I've got an amazing daughter, and we'll talk about her in a little bit at the end. But yeah, that kinda sums it up, and you nailed it, and I can't believe it's been over 10 years since we met, and that Michael from 2016, 2015 is completely different than the Michael right now.
Yeah, I loved that guy, but you
Yeah.
are just something extraordinary. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. You gave me the tools and you offer those tools freely to anybody that'll apply them. All you have to do is apply it. Like, here's the thing I've said so many times, the exact formula for weight loss works 100% of the time you implement it. Like, if you don't implement it, it's not going to work. But if you see anybody who implements it and does it with longevity and they really buy in, and you kind of have to really commit and really be, obsessive compulsive about it sometimes, but like you've got to do it and it's going to work. Like, it never not work. Like, if you put that 0 at the end of the your calories and you eat that every day for as long as you need to, and you don't lose weight, something's wrong. I mean, there's something absolutely wrong
Yeah.
because you gotta
Yeah.
do it.
So, what's the difference, do you think? I mean, your weight loss has certainly been a huge part of your success.
Yeah,
We know a lot of folks who understand the formula. They understand it and
yeah.
deeply. How come they're not having success? How come you decided, yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stick with it? What do you think the difference is, Michael?
Well, I might step on some toes here, but, if you go in and you do it half what, like, you're not gonna get the results. Like, weight loss is not linear. Like, so let's say I weigh 250 pounds today and I wanna be 250 pounds as or 200 is my pound. I take off that 0, 2,000 calories I eat. If I start eating 2,000 calories for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, it's not gonna show up immediately, and it might take a while to show up. So I think the people who have that staying power, and that's the one thing that I did is I just committed. I was like, "Well, the exact formula, this makes, not only math sense, but it makes, true sense in how it works." So I think just being committed to something and knowing that the 2 things you control are your effort and your attitude, and we'll talk about that as one of my mantras as we go, but I put in the effort and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it with a good attitude.
Yeah, and so what do you advise people when they go, "Okay, Fitz and Mike, I'm gonna use a formula," and then they get to day 7 and they eat too many calories, and then the next day they go, "Oh, well, forget it." What do you say for those folks who are about to quit?
Yeah, never give up, and I'll go back to a similar story in my life. So, for a while, I had a nasty habit of chewing tobacco. Like, I
Mm.
dipped Copenhagen is what I did. It was kinda I'm a Navy veteran, and we did it a lot in the Navy and in college, and I tried to quit more than once. And every time I would get to a couple of days and I wouldn't make it. Well, I got into a group that had an accountability system built in, and you get to certain days and you get a little coin, which I have mine. But there were times when I even when I was in that group, I didn't make it. But there was that one final time when I just kept pushing, and I never gave up. And now I've been 23 years without tobacco. So it's something that you've got to really commit to. And if you slip up on day 6, start over and don't beat yourself up. But nobody's perfect, and you always say, don't strive for perfection. Do the thing that's going to work with you. And if you slip up, reset that calendar and keep going because you've got to not beat yourself up. Give yourself some grace, is what I say. But
Yeah.
also approach it with you've got to not say, well, oh heck, I slipped up, so let's just go crazy and eat 3,000 calories for the rest of the time, and then it becomes 3,500, and then it becomes 3,800, and you give up. So give yourself some grace, but come back with a vengeance.
And you still count your calories every day, right?
I do, and I got to the habit where I didn't log the calories, and I noticed that my weight, and we'll talk about my Parkinson's journey, but, especially after the surgery, I was some things triggered in my brain, but I got to where I was not logging it in the app every day, and I was like, "Nope, that's gotta go." So I still log my calories in my app every day, and, I've got the behaviors, and I've got the things that I do that I've made adjustments and what I can choose and what I know to choose now, but I log what I do every single day still.
Makes all the difference in the world. So I've been using the formula since I turned about 21 when I lost
Yeah,
about 45 pounds. So I don't write it down anymore, but it's always in my head. There's always a running calendar or a calculator going. And
yeah,
I I love being the size I am. I just love it. So why would I give it up? I just wouldn't.
yeah,
And if I wasn't here, I would do whatever it took to get here. So okay,
yeah.
we're gonna get off the exact formula. We could do a whole show on this.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about you being diagnosed with Parkinson's and what's happened since. So take us back to how you got diagnosed.
Yeah, and I'll kinda go even rewind a little bit more. So you and I have known each other since probably about 2015, 2016-ish, and
Yeah.
I started running running the marathons with the flags for fallen military heroes, mainly soldiers, sailors, Marines, but anyway, so when I would be running, I would notice that my left foot would kinda curl up on me, and it was a feeling like your toes kinda curling in involuntarily. So I went to a podiatrist and he thought, "Well, it's neuroma," 'cause Morton's neuroma is something a lot of runners get. Gave me a little cortisone injection in my foot, and I was good to go for, 2 or 3 months, and that was probably 2019-ish, and I was like, I just wrote that off, and, "Hey, I got some issues with my foot, neuroma, no big deal." So it kept coming back and back, and I actually had a surgery on my foot to take some of the bone out where a neurosurgeon or a orthopedic surgeon thought that I had some issues with my bones, and that did nothing. So I was like, "Well, something's more is going on here." And fast forward to about 2023, going through some really some really intense things at work. I took those a lot more than I normally would, and we talked about how I'm a meek person and how I'm a leader
Used
who,
to be a meek
you know
person.
yeah, I'm a servant leader, essentially is what I call myself. So I still have a lot of that, but things got to the point where I had a lot of anxiety and I had a lot of things going on at work, and that led to some issues at another job. But all of this is to say those things were all precursors to my Parkinson's diagnosis. So the first symptom was my foot curling up. That's called dystonia. That's one of the things that many people with Parkinson's have. The anxiety, the loss of sleep, those kind of things. And then in about 2023, I was speaking on a stage and I noticed that my left arm was kind of trembling and I was like, this is a new thing. And thought it might be like essential tremor or that kind of thing. And went to my doctor. And so, long story short, all of these different things were symptoms of Parkinson's. And once my PCP got me to a neurologist, they basically looked at me and the way I walked, and they're like, "Yeah, you got Parkinson's," but they did all the tests, of course. But that's the long way of how I was diagnosed and the things that contributed to it.
Well, that's really valuable information because I mean, I remember you going through the foot thing and it was the
Yeah,
foot, the foot, the foot. And now I think, oh my God, you had
yeah,
surgery,
yeah,
unnecessary surgery because
yeah,
of a misdiagnosis. And it's
yeah,
so important. And our body sends up these red flags, but
yeah.
the foot alone may not have been enough for a doctor to
No,
recognize that. And you've done
yeah,
such an outstanding job of advocating for yourself and also being aware, like noticing your arm trembling. Some people might have blown that off as
yeah.
nerves. I don't think you get nervous on a stage. I think you
Mm-mm.
get even more comfortable when you're on a
I
stage,
do,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and kind of a funny story on that. So a little while before that, I was speaking at a pretty big event again, and this guy, it was like a panel of speakers, and this guy who I know him pretty well, he was trying to rattle me. He wasn't messing with me. He was really trying to rattle me, and he's like, "Hey, those lights, they feel real bright, don't they? You're starting to sweat, aren't you?" And I was like, "Dude, you're poking the wrong bear here because I'm in the zone. When I step in front of that podium, that's my environment." So yeah, having the tremors and the shakes during that speech was not something normal for me.
Yeah, for sure. Also, folks, if you're looking for a great speaker, Michael Jones has many of the best messages. He's an incredible storyteller, and I love seeing him on stages.
Yes. Yeah, and I will share, and this is good for your podcast because you're all about, positivity and helping folks. One of my big messages that ties it all together, and we'll talk about this too, it's a math formula. E plus R equals O, or the E equals R plus O. So when you have something that you respond to, when something happens, say Parkinson's, say somebody cuts you off in traffic, that's the event. How you respond or react will determine the outcome. So you can choose, like if you're in traffic, if somebody cuts you out off, you can give them the old one finger salute, and you can cuss them
Mhm.
out, and you can cut them off. If you're diagnosed with Parkinson's, that's something that I dealt with. Anything in between, like with your cancer, you can just curl up and just give up, or you can respond and you can say, I'm not going to just take this. So E plus R equals the event plus your response equals the outcome. And that's something that, that's one of my life mantras.
Well, you have hardcore. So let's go back. You get diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I
Yep.
know you were very stressed over it, but you
Yeah.
also instantly put a positive spin. You kept telling me, "I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be a blessing, and I'm going to turn it into a good thing." So from your diagnosis, what kind of measures were taken? And then I want to get eventually to your procedures you had this fall slash winter.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed in March of 24, and so the gold standard for Parkinson's has been for about 50 years. There's a pill called Sinemet is the brand name, and so they start you out on this Sinemet, and you basically introduce this into your system, and you ramp it up, and you get to the dosage where your symptoms are managed, and I think the max dosage is between 8 and 12 individual pills per day, and
Wow.
some people have to use that and then some. And so I was put on that, and it didn't really help any. And so they added a second prescription name, and the brand name of this one is called Ropenetrol. And so one controls the Michael J. Fox wiggles. That's called dyskinesia. The other kind of solves the tremors thing. And so together they kind of work together. But I got to where I was taking 8 pills a day, sometimes 10 or 12 between all the different ones, and it really wasn't doing anything. So that's when my neurologist really talked to me about the surgery and my long-term approach to how I dealt with the Parkinson's through medication versus surgery.
Okay, so let's go back. So you had the foot curl and you had a
Yeah,
tremor in your arm
yeah,
sporadically. And then how did it progress? And to be honest with you, I have
yeah,
not been with you physically since your diagnosis. So I
yeah,
haven't been able to see what's been going on with you. What were
yeah,
your I don't symptoms aren't the word, side effects.
yeah.
What was it causing for you?
Well, so one of the things that was noticeable was a foot drop is what it's called, and my wife, who is a physical therapist, Christine, noticed it pretty readily. When I would walk from, my car to the grocery store or anywhere, my left foot would kinda drag and drop, and I had no control over that. So that was one thing, and obviously the tremors was a big one. My
W-
left leg just
1 second with the foot drop. Were you tripping? Were you falling?
No, and that's one of the thing, and I credit you with this because I put so much effort into strength training, balance training, cardio that I'm a little bit more nimble than
Okay.
some of the people with Parkinson's, and again, your point is that I put so much into taking care of my body that I'm able to manage it now. So, yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't to the point, like, I could kinda cover it up. So, yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't hazard.
Okay. So foot drop and then what else?
Yeah. So the tremors, of course, and that it gets worse. It got worse during different times, like stressful times or when I was really tired, that got really worse. These are physical symptoms. And then the third one was my leg. It's kind of like restless leg syndrome. I could never get my left leg to kind of just be still. And I would sit in a classroom or whatever, and my left leg, I would just involuntarily cross my leg and move it all around. And so those were the ones that you could see. Now, the things about Parkinson's is it attacks people in all kind of different ways. Those are the things that people are aware of, and the wiggles thing that's the like the Michael J. Fox, how he moves around. That's called the dyskinesia, and that can manifest in your leg, your arm, your neck, your upper body, so many different ways. And so that's how I got the dyskinesia. Those are the physical symptoms, and then the things that you couldn't see is I was just tired all the time, and that's one of the big things that I still get tired really easily and quickly. And there's kind of like an apathy that goes with Parkinson's that I've kind of had to fight, and a brain fog where you just don't have motivation to do a lot of things. But I'm choosing that E plus R equals O mindset. So I'm working on my brain, and we'll talk about the brain and the resilience of your brain. But like the non physical symptoms are sometimes worse than the physical symptoms.
So exhaustion, and then with the wiggles,
Yeah.
the dyskinesia, was it your whole body, and how was it affecting your quality of life and your ability to do stuff?
Yeah, so with me, and that's kinda, again, the blessing of my Parkinson's manifestation, it was really only my left leg, and
Okay.
so it was something that, like, I was aware of it, and it really just it frustrated me because, at church or in a meeting or the movie theater or whatever, my leg would just constantly be moving around, and it was just darn near impossible to sleep through the night with that. So, like, that was the biggest thing, but yeah.
Okay, so physical symptoms, mental or side effects, whatever, and then you have the medicine. You're taking a
Yeah,
lot of medicine.
yeah,
You're not doing what you wanted to
yeah.
do, and so how do you get to this surgical option?
Yeah, and I'll tell you one funny thing about that and kind of a little story. So you have coached me to like I used to just run. Like the only thing I would do is run. And I used to think that, lifting weights was for the meatheads. And I had that 80s memory of people in the muscle shirt in the gym just pumping iron and grunting and all that stuff. And, I put that stereotype behind me, and I really got into strength training and like that. Another thing that you talked about is doing a variety of activities. So other than just run, I built in swimming into the things, and I love, 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 love to swim. Like, I swim at least 3 days a week now. But one of the things, and this is going back to the question. So one of the things that happened, like, I would swim in the pool, and I literally could not kick with my left leg. So imagine, swimming, 12 laps back and forth, 15 laps back and forth, and you just gotta hold your left leg like dead weight and kick with your leg. That was a real pain, and so I talked to my neurologist about that, and I told him about that, and he kinda, his eyebrows raised, and he kinda, went to thinking about that, and so he asked me. I showed him, like, I kept a spreadsheet of all of my symptoms, and I ranked them, and I had all these different things along with my medication, and I came up with this formula of, daily, what are my symptoms on a scale of 1 to 10, and then I'd get a math formula, and I'd come up with a daily score, and he and his nurse practitioner, they got to laughing, and they're like, "Are you an engineer?" And I said, "Well, in a former life, I was an industrial engineer, but I'm a healthcare guy, but I like the number stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, this is telling me exactly what I need to see, that the meds are not working for you." And so he said, "We want to talk to you about a procedure called deep brain stimulation, and that might be an option for you. And you and your wife go talk about it, because it's something that the process to qualify for it is a long process, and you've got to really want to. And it's a pretty invasive brain surgery." But he said, based on all that you're saying that the meds are not helping you, I think that you should really consider this deep brain stimulation. And that was probably the summer of 2025.
And we will be right back. My brand new book, You Supercharge, the exact formula for fitness, weight loss, and longevity, is out right now and has something for everybody. Ladies, chapter Full Throttle Femininity is dedicated to all the things you think you can't control, including menopause, weight loss, maintaining muscle mass, building bone density, and earning yourself a JJ of Steel. Guys, chapter Man Mode was written just for you. You'll learn how to combat menopause, tune up your ticker, banish a beer belly for good, maximize your muscles, and earn the most powerful pecker on the planet. From the ground on up, from the inside and out, let's supercharge your body and mind and make you unstoppable. Order signed copies of You Supercharged at fitzness.com in the United States, Amazon, everywhere else. We're back. Deep brain stimulation.
Yeah.
And what does that entail? Well, do they offer this surgery to everybody?
No, it's a pretty strict process. So you've literally got to go up in front of a committee, and this is how most hospitals do it. So I'm lucky where I live in Birmingham, Alabama. There's a big teaching hospital, and it's really world renowned. UAB, the University of Alabama at Birmingham. They're one of the major performers of this surgery, and so they have a committee that. My main doc was one of the ones, and he wasn't the chair, but he was a lead on the committee. And so what you have to do, and this was kind of fun too. I almost forgot about this. So you have to go through all these assessments. You have to go through a physical assessment where you pick up like it's like that peg game at Cracker Barrel where you have the pegs you put in and you try to do it as fast as you can with one hand and then with the other hand, and they measure all these different things and put you on a treadmill and you have to you know do all this stuff physically, and then they put you through a psychological evaluation where they brought my wife in and asked about the support system, and then they did all these brain things, and that was like an hour and a half where you have to, they say 12 words and you have to repeat them to them backwards, and then you have to do all this stuff. So yeah, it's
Backwards
just
words.
yeah, it's pretty intense. By the end of the assessment, I was like, "Oh my gosh, my brain is fried." But, they're really measuring to see if you can really have the support system and if you have the I guess, the mental, I don't wanna say capacity, but, like, if you have the resilience to be able to do this surgery because it's pretty intense. So you go through all these different things, and then they put you through a committee and, like, I don't get to talk to them, but they all I think there's, about a dozen people on the committee, and they look at my history, they look at all the different things, and they say, "Thumbs up, thumbs down," kinda like that, Gladiator movie where the guy's like,
Yeah.
"Thumbs up, thumbs down," and so I got the thumbs up, not only for the procedure, but I got the thumbs up to be a clinical trial, so I'll tell you more about that, but it's an exhaustive procedure, or it's an exhaustive process just to qualify for deep brain stimulation.
So let me ask, would Michael Jones 10 years ago have qualified?
Heck no, because like, that's one of the things is my main doctor, he said, "Because you've taken such good care of yourself, you are the ideal candidate for this procedure." And, like, he was almost salivating to get me to do this
Oh,
procedure
wow.
because I think he's gonna be writing some, lying journals up about me, but he's like, "You have taken such good care of yourself." And by the way, Fitz, the number one, so you can take all these medicines, you can do all the surgery, and you can do all this stuff. The number one thing to really fight Parkinson's, because there is no cure, is exercise and intense
Yep.
exercise at that. So he said, "You've got that. You've got the intense exercise checked off. You lift weights, you run, you swim, you bike. So, like, you're ready for this." But yeah, the Michael of 10 years ago, absolutely no. I wouldn't have qualified.
So I said this at the beginning of the show, but folks, if like, let's make this you. You get diagnosed with something today. What are the odds they're going to give you the second chance on life? Michael would not have this second chance on life. You're going to hear about his success moving forward because of this procedure. But if he had not exercised and swam and lifted weights, blue in the face, I'm going to say that lifted weights, achieved his ideal weight using the formula, worked on balance, he would completely be regressing right now. He would be on a path towards Shakyville and
Yeah.
Dystoniaville, all his muscles getting tenser and curling up and the exhaustion increasing and all of that getting worse. But he put in the work beforehand. And so put in the work today. Let this be your wake up call because maybe Parkinson's for you. Maybe, like me, you get diagnosed with cancer. Maybe it's MS or again, getting hit by a train. I don't know what it is, but something will come your way. None of us get off unscathed. And this man is going to tell you why his life is so freaking good because he put in the work beforehand. So I'm really emphatic about my success, about your success, and anybody else who's earning it, Michael. Also, in your if you're not watching this and you're just listening, his so mine it says Fitzy, the little name blob, and then his says Michael, the Warlord Jones. What the heck is that?
So that's a little bit of a fast forward. So I'm part of a boxing group called PD Fight Club, and I've
Okay,
got literally got the boxing wraps and the gloves, and there's probably 20 of us that go. They do it every day of the week, but I go on Fridays, and you get assigned a boxing name. So like,
okay,
we go and we hit heavy bags and we run and we memorize words and all this stuff. And I was given the name Warlord. So
love it.
Michael the Warlord Jones is my name. There's the Hound Dog, there's Thunder Punch, there's a nun who's in her late 70s, her name is Sister Mary, so it's just a great group of folks, but Warlord is my boxing name.
So freaking fun, so freaking
Yep.
fun, and you have a, very famous man who also had Parkinson's, Muhammad Ali, right behind you. Well
Yeah.
played.
Yeah, he's one of my inspirations. I've always loved Muhammad Ali, but, like, I don't know if you remember the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta when
Of
he held the
course.
torch and he
Yes,
had the
sir.
tremor, and that was he told his wife that before that, he was embarrassed to be seen in Publix, and as an advocate for Parkinson's, he wanted to show the world that, yeah, he may not look the same, and he may not be able to do all the same things, but he still had that Muhammad Ali spark. Like, he was
Yeah.
just such a fun guy, but yeah, taken too soon and,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I love
what
Muhammad Ali.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I it's fascinating to hear someone like him could have shame over something he didn't do.
Mhm,
Patting myself on my own back, but I was never embarrassed about anything related to my cancer, so I look different.
mhm,
I looked pretty bad on many occasions, but I wasn't embarrassed.
yeah,
I didn't do that to myself. It wasn't like I was a crackhead who got real skinny and gray.
yeah,
I was fighting for my life, so it makes me sad to hear that he was ever ashamed, but I'm glad he turned that around and led the way for you
mhm,
all. Okay,
yeah,
so surgeries, they're gonna
yeah,
do deep brain stimulation and go from there.
yeah, so do you wanna hear about the surgery itself or any pre-surgery stuff?
Oh, yeah, all the above. I
Yeah.
mean, we have X amount of time, but yeah, tell us what
Yeah,
we need to
we
know.
have a limited amount of like, I could talk about this forever, but, like, it was a big decision for my wife and I, and we included Olivia in the decision, and it's funny, she will be a senior in college soon, I can't believe that, but she's actually, minoring in disabilities, and at the time, she was taking a class where she was learning about the brain and all this stuff and Parkinson's, and so it is a big decision because it's very intense brain surgery, so it took about 7 hours, and I had to be awake the entire time, and they prepare you for this, and they say, "Now, if you get really" so I'm not the most brave person when it comes to medical stuff. I literally I got a real deep cut in my leg one time, and I passed out when they were doing stitches, so I don't do so good with medical stuff, but they said, "You really need to be awake for the whole time because we're gonna test this thing when we put it in your brain, and we want to get the optimal placement and everything we need." So here I was. So I was laying on a table, and it's kinda like the first section of an MRI tube, not the whole thing, but they kinda clamp your head in so you can't move,
My.
and I couldn't see what they were doing. So like medical folks, there's a big old TV and you can watch what they're doing. And they said, "Now, do you want to watch?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's a good way for me to pass out." But I got to talking to all the like there was a medical device person who was there first. His name was Mike. And he and I got to talking and they prepped me for it and everything. And I talked to the doctor, I talked to the nurses, and I'm still kind of looking for that one person that was a Gainesville connection with you. I don't think she's ever reached out to you, has she?
No, 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 not yet.
That's a bummer. So they had all these people in the room. It was like they call it an OR theater, and I know why now because there are probably a dozen people in the operating room, and so I got to talking to all of them, and they're doing all the things where they're putting the things in my brain and skull, and the device guy said, "The pain scale, it's really not that bad," but he said, "You're gonna feel when they start to," and this a little bit graphic, but he's like, "When they start to drill into your skull, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna feel like your teeth are being rattled. It's gonna feel like you're sitting in a helicopter. You're gonna be just
Oh,
so shaken." And that really was. That was probably the most intense like, it was an intense, intense surgery. 7 hours of brain surgery awake.
and no anti-anxiety medicine or anything.
No, and that kinda surprises me because they could do all that stuff, but I was fine without it. So they I was just and I kinda got fussed at by the surgeon because I was talking to her and all the other nurses and stuff, and they're like she said, "Okay, doing a really delicate part right here, so everybody hush, including
Woo,
you, Michael." So, yeah,
that okay, so they just numb your head, they
yeah,
inject it, and then
yeah.
it's crazy.
So it's
Just so you know, my whole body
yeah,
is lit up with anxiety right now.
yeah.
That's wild, and then how big of a hole did they drill in your skull?
So it's about the size of a quarter, like
Oof.
it's about the size of a quarter. They drill a hole in your head, and then I think it's about 3 inches they put the leads for that go into your brain, and that's part 1 of the surgery. So it's a two-part surgery, and normally they just put 1 lead in, and the clinical trial for me and this is just I don't see how you have to make this choice, but, like, you get to choose, like, do you wanna control the tremors or do you wanna control the stiffness? And it's like I couldn't do that. So with me, they put in 2 leads, which controls all the physical symptoms is the goal. And so they got them put in there and placed, and they had one of the researchers come in there, and he like so it's really not hooked up to anything. So I say they hook it up to like a jumper cable, and they've got the electricity going, and they have to test it to make sure it's in the right place and it's firing. And like, he got it ramped up really high. It'll go up from, like, 0 to 8, I think is the highest level, and this is a guy that's kind of aggressive in how he ramps it up, but he got it going to, like, level 6, and my face was all contorting, and
Oof.
I was saying, "Whoa, dude," and I'm seeing lightning flashes in my eyes, and it's just crazy. But when he turned it up to, like, a certain level, I had no tremors
Wow.
in the surgery room.
Wow. So instant results.
Yeah, and that's, during the surgery. So, they sewed me back up, and I got
Wait,
home, and everything was
before you do that, folks,
yeah,
are you I don't know where you are, whether you're driving or in bed or on the treadmill, but are you losing it? Because they drilled a quarter-size hole in his skull
yeah,
while he was awake. That means they had to go through the skin first, which is bonkers, and then they start jamming stuff in his brain while he's awake
yeah,
and and jumper cabling you. They jumper cabled your brain. That's
yeah,
insane. And did you okay, this is what I gotta know, Michael, because
yeah,
I try medium to be very classy lady. I try medium. I don't try too hard, but I try medium. But when it comes to medical stuff, I curse my doctors out. They start poking me,
yeah,
and my every vulgar word comes out of my
yeah,
mouth, and I say, "I'm so sorry, but F you, you blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, blah." Did you have any of that? Did you let your prim and proper,
Well,
gentlemanly style go at all?
no, so I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I prayed a lot, and there's you might have
Oh.
heard the names Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. That's the story of Daniel, who's in a fiery pit, and the king threw him in there, and he said, "I'll look around," and I threw in 4 people, but I see there's 5 people, and the other one looks like an angel, and so I prayed a whole lot. So, yeah, not cussing, but a lot of praying. There was a 5th man in there. There's another person in the fire with me.
Oh, you were so sweet. This is why I love you. You're just
Yeah,
such a great human. I do wanna be around when you just lose it one day and give out some yucky words, but
well,
I'm glad
it
you didn't do that in surgery.
yeah. No, not in surgery. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is the doc and the med guy, I think it was the med device guy told Christine, my wife, afterwards, he's like, "I've done a ton of these procedures," and he said, "Michael is absolutely the calmest person that I've ever seen do one of these," and I was like, "Yeah, that's I don't know how," but, like, I was really nervous going into that procedure. I was super nervous 'cause, to the point, like, I don't do well with medical stuff, but
Wow.
and I'd do it again if I had to. Like, it's an intense, intense surgery, but, I'd do it again, and that's only part 1 of the surgery, you know?
That's right. My hero, my hero. Okay, so you the surgery's over, they
Yeah,
close you up.
yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, so that's on a Tuesday, so that's part 1. So part 2, they've gotta get the battery connected to that, so I go into the ho to this OR again, and this one was actually easy. They put me to sleep for it, but they put a battery in above, like, I think it's the clavicle, like, it's right here on my pec muscle, and it's about the size of a big pack of chewing gum, like they have, like, the 5-piece sticks
Yeah.
of juicy fruit or whatever. This is like the big 20-piece, so it's in there, and they connect it with a wire that goes from the battery pack all the way up behind my ear into my brain, and that was set up before, so there's a ridge on my skull that's like, you can see where this thing is, and the wire sometimes gets tighter than others, but yeah, that's part 2 is they connect it, and then it's not turned on, so, like, for the first 10 days, you get what's called the honeymoon period where your brain thinks something's going on, but it really isn't, and you kinda don't have any physical symptoms, but then about 2 or 3 weeks later, they turn everything on, and, like, when they turned it on, I instantly had no physical symptoms. I mean, it was miraculous. Like, I went from wiggling and, my foot shaking and my tremors to absolutely nothing.
Wow. Wow. And what did that do to you? You get nothing.
I you know, I was just I honestly didn't know I honestly didn't believe it because it was just such I'd been through such an ordeal for such a long time, like with, not being able to kick when I swim and the tremors. And when they got like the nurse practitioner got it really dialed in, I was like, wow, this is something else. So it's almost too good to be true, but, it was just such a blessing, and it's lasted, and the cool thing is the battery on this will last 10 to 15 years, and, with all the preventive type things, the proactive work I'm doing, I'm just thrilled with my outlook.
Absolutely. And let's go back to the fact that most people have to choose between getting rid of tremors or getting rid of stiffness. And
Yeah.
why did they let you have both? How come you're the unicorn who gets both?
Well, so number 1, so UAB being a teaching hospital, they really want to do these clinical trials. Like, the future state of this is everybody will get both leads, but they've gotta make sure that it's effective and it works. So, number 1, I'm at a teaching hospital, so that helps. But number 2, and this is the Fitz effect because I was so, physically active and fit and worked so hard, like, they know they're not gonna put them in and it go to waste. The doctor, like, he really was almost salivating, like, this is gonna be the ideal case for us to do this in. So it's just, timing, location, and the work that I did before.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And
Yeah,
I'm so grateful you did the work because you deserve to feel good and have your body perform the
yeah.
way it's supposed to.
Yeah, and it just feels great, like, swimming now, I'm just elated that I can kick with both legs, I can run without my foot curling up, I'm not near as fast as I used to be, and, I wanna work up to running with the flag again. I don't know if a marathon is in my future, but my future is so bright because of the Fitz effect. I mean,
Oh,
I made a decision in whatever 2016 to take charge of my life, and like you were saying, some of us are less fortunate in that we get stricken with Parkinson's, cancer, whatever. Some of us, maybe we just grow old and we want to hold our grandchildren and chase our grandchildren around, or just be active and make a decision right now to affect the future you, and you will be happy you did. I mean, I don't think you've probably in your whole life ever met somebody that's fit, and maybe that's gone from, not being fit to fit, and they're like, I regret losing all this weight. I regret getting, lifting weights and running. I don't think that's ever happened.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's so, as you talk about qualifying for your special trial that has improved your life a thousandfold, not just tenfold, how many people will need a new organ and they're on a list competing with other people to survive? Will you get the kidney? Will you get the liver? Will you get the lung? If you do what I tell you to do, and this is not about me, this is about fitness and science and
Yeah.
doing the right thing. Of course, I'm the one preaching it, but I didn't create it, right? If you do what I tell you to do, you will be the one to get the organ, right? You will be the one to get the opportunity to live better and longer. I mean, it's just the thought of any of my listeners dying because they didn't qualify. They didn't qualify. There was an organ, there was a chemo treatment or a drug that perhaps they could utilize, but they didn't meet the criteria of someone likely to succeed because maybe they're overweight or they have type 2 diabetes or who knows, their back pain is so bad, whatever that is. I mean, folks, listen. Michael and I are like saying all this stuff because we care about you. Michael doesn't share his story just to self-aggrandize. He really wants you to make the changes he's made.
Yeah, and then this is a life change too. I mean, bad stuff happens. I mean, this is just there's so many crazy things. I mean, cancer, Parkinson's, bad relationships, crappy job experiences, all this stuff. But number 1, you can be prepared physically. And to your point earlier, when I was not in shape and when I was not in the shape I needed to be in, I didn't have that confidence. And so going through those things prepares you mentally and emotionally. And that's one of the things I'm really just studying the brain now. Like, your brain is just so resilient. Your brain, and some people think that like your brain is fixed and you get older and you're just continually declining. And your brain, the neuroplasticity and just how your brain literally renews itself so often is just fascinating. And this is where I'm just drawn to now is what's next for me and what's next for us as a society. But you got one body, so take care of that.
Yeah. And with your body is your brain, your lungs, your spleen, all of it counts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I know you're doing all the standard workout stuff,
Yeah,
the running and swimming and stuff, but you take your Parkinson's fitness classes.
yeah.
I love that. And folks should know there are very specialized classes for people living with Parkinson's and other diseases or ailments as well. But tell us about your Parkinson's training and why is it different and special?
Oh my gosh, yeah, PD Fight Club is awesome. The guy that and it usually it's called Rock Steady Boxing, but this guy, Martin Juarez, he owns a gym here in the Birmingham area, and he's got a love for patients with Parkinson's, and so it's specifically structured. We go in and there's a long PVC pipe, and there's generally 20, sometimes 30 people in the room, and we do exercises to stretch first, and it's working on our mobility. And we do things like we move our head different directions, and we squat down and up, and that's designed especially for balance. And then every week there's 5 words that you memorize, and you've got to shout them back all throughout the whole thing. And sometimes they're related, sometimes they're not. But like you have to memorize the 5 words, and that works on your memory and your speaking because Harrison Ford. I don't know if you're watching that show Shrinking, but he's doing a
Mm.
great job of portraying Parkinson's. And one of the things people start to talk softer. And so we yell and we say these 5 words, and then we do all these drills. And there's usually 10 stations at a boxing gym that's like jump ropes, shadow boxing, punching the heavy bag. My favorite is the speed bag. And there's all these different things. It's specifically designed for people with Parkinson's to target the things where we struggle. And the things that we can do is we can work on our mindset, we can work on our physical bodies, and we can work on the memory part of it. So we can memorize the words is super important. But it's so fun. And all the guys and ladies that I've met there, we've all got our nicknames. A couple of my favorite are the Hound Dog, Thunder Punch. He's an Army veteran. And I told you about Sister Mary, and there's just so many cool people in that from so many ages that are, I'm usually the youngest, but like it's a blast, and it's done specifically for Parkinson's. And he gets medical school students to volunteer in there, and they go with us to the different stations. But it's a whole lot of fun, and it's high energy, high fun.
That's so awesome. Think about how many people get the diagnosis and they just sit freaking home and they're miserable. They're just pouting, or I don't know what the word is. Pouting's probably not a kind word to use,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? They
Yeah,
just
you
given up.
isolate yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's extraordinary. Okay, so your future is bright. These two jumper cables in your brain, are there is the expectation that the tremors won't come back and the
Yeah.
tightness won't come back?
It is, and that's the goal. So my main neurologist, he said, my intention and my focus for you is for you to introduce yourself and talk to somebody, and for them to just not even know that you have Parkinson's unless you tell them. And I was actually at church like last week or 2 weeks ago talking to a guy that he was an Army first sergeant, so we kind of had the military connection, and we got to talking. And I'm really aware of the big knot on my head. I say it's a big knot, but it's really not that bad. But I got to talking to him, and we spent 10-15 minutes together, and I said, I wanted to let you know that I have Parkinson's and I've been doing all this to overcome it and blah, blah, blah. And, he said, I had no idea. The whole conversation we're having, I had no idea that you had Parkinson's. So the goal is, yes, to keep these physical symptoms right here where they are, a baseline of 0. And then it's on me to do the mental work. So yeah, and I'm going to consistently do it. And one of the things, reading and all these different things we do, it's just, that's what the goal is. So I want to be the person who, I don't dread walking upstairs, and I wanna be the person who I can walk from my car to the grocery store. I wanna be the one who can still run the races and do the things. So, yeah, absolutely.
I'm so excited for your future, and I know you won't settle for any less.
Well, that again, that's the Fitz effect. I mean, you unleashed that in me, and I'm so thankful that I met you back when I did at that bakery because the version of me that I am now, I owe to the things I learned from you and the things that you freely gave to anybody. And your books really talk about all this, and it's just been such a good journey. And I'm so thankful for you and all the relationships I've built along the way with your hotties and the people in your community.
We have such wonderful, wonderful people, and I love having you as exhibit A of what's possible. I know many of my listeners right now, they're going, "Yeah, she's right, he's right, I should do better." Folks, do better. It's the make it the Michael Jones effect. Fitz
Yeah,
told us this, but then Michael Jones showed if you put it to
that's
action, it could actually make your life like livable.
yeah,
Livable. That's what you're having, a livable life now. I'm so
yep.
excited. Okay, so got to brag about you a little bit. You have 3 books and you're doing some executive consulting. So tell us about your books and what you're up to now, because it's all pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, and I'm kinda going through a thing with Amazon right now. They were unpublished for a time, but the first one kinda detailed my issues with my career woes towards the end of where things got sour, so that was called The Career Secret. The second one is a devotional book called Purpose in the Pause, where, this moment, like when I had Parkinson's, there if you'll look beyond that when I was diagnosed, like, there's so much more. There's purpose sometimes in these moments, and the third one was a was a fictional work of kind of like a business thing, and I included the Fitz character in that one as a race announcer. So I enjoyed writing fiction, but I love writing. I've always loved reading and writing, and that's something I'm working on more books now. And then I've got a goal to do several books this year. Speaking is a thing I do, and I coordinate webinars with a lot of top notch world class organizations where I talk about leadership or management or behavioral kind of topics. Sometimes it's fun topics like, mental power or resilience. And sometimes it's deep topics like leadership and crises kind of things.
And we will be right back.
Are you looking for the perfect gift for a loved one battling cancer? The Cancer Comeback series by Fitz Koehler offers hope, inspiration, and practical guidance. With Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, My Noisy Cancer Comeback, and The Healthy Cancer Comeback Journal. These books are a lifeline for all patients and survivors. Right now, you can order autographed copies at a special discount. Show your support and help a loved one go from sick to strong. Visit fitzness.com today. That's FITZNESS.com. Fitzness.com.
We're back. So I've been able to read The Career Secret, which I thought was great. And you just have such a wonderful way of explaining things. And you have some pretty gory experiences professionally from people who were pretty horrible to you
Yeah.
and how you rose above it. And you're an excellent storyteller. And, from pretty early on, you started making these small videos on socials just to share messages, sometimes daily. And it just,
Yeah.
you're thoughtful and you know what you want to say, and then you're able to wrap it in a story that's engaging and interesting and makes a lot of sense. You just have a wonderful delivery. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. This is all things that I would have. I think that I've always loved doing this, and I've gotten to where I don't do the videos as much. I miss that, and that's something that you kind of helped me along the way to, tweak it. And you gave me some good feedback, like they were too long and they were too rambly at some point, and you're like, hey, tone it down, keep it, a minute or so, and be on point. But yeah, I love doing all that kind of stuff. And the other piece of this, like I'm always open to feedback. Like I don't nowhere near perfect, and I'm always looking for how can I improve. Like with the webinars that I'm giving, love giving the extra mile or going the extra distance for the organizations I serve. But I also love growing and to be open to feedback with a growth mindset. That's another thing. You've kind of helped me develop that too.
Yeah, well, it's like what we can't please everybody, but sometimes people have a real valid point. You got to
Yeah,
listen and look in the mirror and go, okay, can I
yeah,
do better?
yeah,
Change it up a little bit. Even I change things up a little bit
yeah,
sometimes, Michael.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, when are you going to come do one of my races? Forget a marathon. How about a 5K?
I see, and that's the thing. I'd love to do a 5K. So I want to look at your calendar and see when the Jones family can do a trip. And I'm bringing out the flag, and I don't know if I'll do it full on for a fallen hero or not. But like I want to look at when can our schedules align. So I want to do that. Yeah, I think 5K, maybe 10K is in my future. But
Okay.
yeah,
You got to
I
start
don't know about
somewhere.
marathon. Yeah,
5K.
yeah.
How far are you from Jacksonville?
I think so. Jax is a good so it to Dothan is like 3 hours. To from Dothan to Jax is about so I think probably 6 hours.
Oh, okay. That's a long
Yeah,
way to go for a 5K.
yeah.
We'll figure it out.
The Huntsville one, if you ever do Huntsville again, like that Rocket City, do you do that anymore?
No,
Uh-oh.
you know what? They got a new race director, and then they just cut their whole they cut their whole magic budget. They just went to being a race without the hoopla, without the entertainment, without the extras. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it's probably still fine. It actually worked out great this year that I wasn't there because my dog Piper passed on the day, and if I
yeah,
had been in Huntsville, it would have been like my greatest regret in my life.
yes.
So
Yes.
Thank you, Rocket City, for cutting out
Yeah.
the fun
Yeah.
stuff. It worked.
The opportunity cost of that, I get it, yeah, so
Right,
one
right.
cool one I can do. One of the so I did the Savannah women's half with you and not the Gasparilla, one it was in Tampa.
St. Pete Run
Big
Fest.
run
Yeah.
fa yeah, so it's just, like, the energy that you bring, it's just another level, like, a Fitz race is so fun.
Mm. Well, it's fun because all the people I love are there. You guys make me excited. Also, remember, it's funny now that we're talking, I remember taking down some guy riding through the Savannah finish line on a bicycle. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that was almost an escalation there, but yeah, that was a different kind of experience. Woo.
But I'm taking on psychos and you're in my corner. So I know
Yeah.
you would have hurdled that barricade to
Yeah. Yep.
rode down with me, use some of those Michael Jones boxing skills.
That's right.
Iron Mike
Yeah.
Jones boxing skills. So
Yep.
fun. Okay. Anything else you want to share on Parkinson's before we go?
Well, and you kinda hit on this. The big theme that I just wanna do is again, the formula, E plus R equals O. The event plus your response equals the outcome. Life happens to all of us, and it may like you said, it may not be Parkinson's, it may be cancer, it may be, whatever it is, but the thing you get to choose is how you respond to it. So
Yeah.
so that's the main thing that I just wanna share that with everybody listening. If you're at a point where you're not at your ideal weight, make a change. You can control that. So, learn the exact formula, do the things that Fitz shares, start to move your body slowly at first if you need to, but do the things you need to. But you are in control. The two things you control are your effort and your attitude. So, really, really do those things for you.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Song of the show. What you got for us? What song should people turn on and what should they do while listening to it?
Yeah, so this is in so I don't the what should they do? Okay, I'll think about that, but this is in honor of my daughter Olivia, who a couple months back, she and her good friend from college went to Tuscaloosa to see a Pitbull concert. So I've been on a
Right.
Pitbull kick. So the song is gonna be Pitbull, "Feel This Moment." That's with, Christina Aguilera. And
Great.
so, with a high energy song like that, I'm gonna say go hit something, hit a punch not a person, hit a punching bag. Go get some shadow boxing or just, do it up and do it up and do it right. Hopefully you can find a punching bag and hit that, but listen to Feel This Moment and do some boxing, even if it's shadow
Oh,
boxing.
I love it. I love it. And then communication tip of the show. What you got?
Yeah, and this is one that I don't know if you've ever had this one on the show before, but God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. One of the big parts about communication is being a good listener. So listen, be an active listener. And when you're in an environment where you're speaking and you're having a conversation or you're speaking just on a stage or something, listen for feedback and be an active listener. So develop your listening skills.
I couldn't have said it better. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mr. Michael. I love you.
Yeah, this has
For
been a
coming back
blast.
on the
Thank
show.
you.
How many times have you been on my show now?
I think this is number 3. We're looking for
No, more than that.
maybe, yeah. Yeah. It's always a joy to come to your show. You're just such a ray of sunshine and light and just, such positivity and I love being a part of this. I've caught up on most of your shows, so I'm not in the black hole of not listening to your show like I should, and it's a joy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Also, where can people find you? Give them your stuff.
Probably the easiest way is to just go to the Hottie Body Fitzness Challenge. I try to hang out there. But if you want to find the professional stuff, go to LinkedIn and look up Michael C. Jones, MBA. That's where I hang out professionally. So LinkedIn is where I am there.
Awesome. And if anyone needs Michael and you can't find him, come to me and I'll
Yeah.
point you in the right direction. All right. One final line of business, Michael. Tell them what to do.
Get to work.
Get to work.
Hi, this is Rudy Novotny, the voice of America's Marathons. We all love how much running has benefited every aspect of our lives, so much so that most of us only wish we'd started sooner. Wouldn't it be wonderful to gift the opportunity to children of today? Well, you can. The Morning Mile is a before-school walking and running program that gives children a chance to start each day in an active way while enjoying fun, music, and friends. That's every child, every day. It's also supported by a wonderful system of rewards, which keeps students highly motivated and frequently congratulated. Created by our favorite fitness expert, Fitz Koehler, Morning Milers across the country have run over 2 million miles and are having greater success with academics, behavior, and sports because of it. The Morning Mile is free to the child, free to the school, and is inexpensively funded by businesses or generous individuals. Help more kids get moving in the morning by visiting morningmile.com. Champion the program at your favorite school or find out more about sponsorship opportunities. That's morningmile.com. Long may you run.